For a long time, Earth had been silent. The people looked at the stars and wondered if someone out there was watching them. Scientists had sent many signals into space, messages full of hope, peace, and questions. But there was never an answer. Then everything changed. It started as a whisper, a faint sound buried deep inside static. The deep space listening post in the Arctic picked it up. At first, the computers thought it was just noise. But one young engineer, Lila, wasn't so sure. She cleaned the signal, ran it again, and stared at the screen. It was a reply. She called her supervisor. Within an hour, the entire base was on alert. The message was old, very old. It had been traveling through space for hundreds of years. It wasn't in any known language, but parts of it matched the format of the signal Earth had sent decades ago. Someone, or something, had responded. Back in the capital, world leaders gathered. The signal was decoded slowly. It wasn't just a reply. It was an invitation. Council welcomes Earth. Arrival accepted. Prepare for transit. Transit? No one knew what that meant. But then, strange things began to happen. In Earth's orbit, satellites picked up unknown energy. A small tear opened in space like a hole made of light. Through it came a golden object the size of a truck. It floated silent outside the International Space Station. It wasn't hostile. It didn't attack. It just waited. When astronauts approached, the object spoke, not with words but with images in their minds. It showed a map, a path through stars, a destination marked in blue light. The Galactic Council. It was real. All the stories, the rumors, the hopes, they were true. Earth had been seen, and now it had been called. The world was never the same after that. News channels ran non-stop. Some people cheered, others feared. Religion spoke of prophecies. Scientists rushed to understand the alien technology. Military leaders stayed quiet but watched everything. The object, now called the Guide, chose a human ambassador, not a president, not a general, not a scientist. It chose a teacher. His name was Elon Reyes. He taught history at a small university. He had written a book about peace after war. Somehow the Guide read his mind and found something valuable in him. He did not want the job, but he accepted it. He was given a small team, 2 translators, a physicist, and a former space pilot. They entered the Guide, which opened like a flower to welcome them. Inside, the laws of physics bent. The ship moved without sound, without engines. Then, suddenly, they were gone. The journey was short, but strange. No stars moved outside the windows. Time felt slow, yet fast. No one spoke. Even Reyes, usually calm, felt fear in his chest. When they arrived, they knew it instantly. The Galactic Council world was unlike anything Earth had ever imagined. It floated in a golden mist, surrounded by rings of glowing stones. Ships of many shapes moved in the sky. Some looked like flying fish, others like spinning crystals. Massive towers stretched into the clouds. Lights moved across the sky like living rainbows. The council had been waiting. As the Guide approached the landing platform, the team saw hundreds of aliens. Tall, short, glowing, armored, floating, creatures from legends and nightmares. All turned their heads as Earth's ship landed. The silence was heavy. No cheers, no welcome, just watching. Reyes stepped out. His team followed, but all eyes were on him. He felt the weight of Earth on his shoulders. A tall figure floated forward. Its skin shimmered like water. It spoke in a voice that echoed without sound. Earth. Death world. You come to speak? Reyes took a breath. He looked around. Some aliens looked curious. Others looked angry. A few looked afraid. He nodded. Yes, we come to listen. And to speak. Whispers moved through the crowd like wind. They are too young. They survived war after war. They have death in their blood. They are not ready. A second alien, one with metal skin and red eyes, stepped forward. We have watched your kind. You burn your world. You fight your own. Why should we let you in? Reyes didn't flinch. He looked up at the council. Because we are not just what we were. We are what we choose to become. You called us. Now we are here. Another silence. Then the floating leader raised a hand. A circle of light formed in the sky. Inside it, scenes from Earth's history played: war, fire, pain, but then healing, rebuilding, exploration, music, love. The aliens watched. Some turned away, but others leaned closer. One of them whispered, almost too soft to hear, "They remind us of our beginning." And far above, on a hidden moon, an ancient machine watched the scene. Its eyes glowed red. Earth had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The air inside the grand hall was not air at all. It was thick, like fog made of glass. The walls glowed with soft energy. Symbols floated mid-air, changing shape every second. Alien guards stood at every entrance, silent, armored, motionless, and in the center was the council ring. Earth's small team stood at the edge of it, still and quiet. The room held beings from across the galaxy, some with wings of light, some with 10 eyes, some that looked like walking plants, others like machines older than time. All of them stared at the humans, and none of them were smiling. Elon Reyes felt a strange pressure on his chest, not fear, something deeper, like being weighed, judged, scanned. Behind him, Dr. Chen whispered, "We're being tested. Right now." Without them saying a word, Reyes gave a small nod. He stepped forward into the council ring. Instantly, a wave of sound hit the room. Not voices, thoughts. The Death Worlders have come. They kill their own. They don't belong here. Let them speak. Let them show their truth. The floating leader from earlier returned. Its body shimmered, like oil over water. Earth has been summoned. Speak now. Why do you seek a seat among the stars? Reyes opened his mouth, but before he could speak, a loud metal thud shook the hall. A new figure had entered. It was huge, over 3 meters tall, covered in deep red armor that hummed with energy. Its voice echoed like thunder. They should not be here. Every alien turned toward the new arrival. These creatures built weapons before they built peace. They burn planets, they poison skies, they breed war. It stepped closer to Reyes, eyes glowing white. Say one wrong word, human, and I will end your place here. Silence. Tension. Thick. Crushing. Reyes didn't move. He just looked up at the giant and said, calm and slow, "If war made us strong, then peace made us wise." The red-armored figure froze, and then stepped back. A few council members gasped. Others leaned forward. Some recorded everything, but one species, quiet and pale like shadows, stood up. Their voice was sharp and cold. Let them prove their words. Through the trial. The trial. Reyes had read about it in the briefing. Every new race that requested entry into the council had to face it. Not all passed. Many had been broken. Some had disappeared. No human had ever taken it before. But there was no choice now. The council whispered in agreement. The floating leader nodded. The trial begins now. The floor split open beneath Reyes and his team. Not falling, just fading, like sinking into a dream. In the blink of an eye, they were somewhere else. A room with no walls, no floor, no ceiling. Just darkness, then lights, then sounds, and then Earth. But it wasn't Earth. It was a memory of Earth. War-torn. Burning. Cities. Screams in the distance. Soldiers running. Families hiding. Reyes stood in the middle of it. Alone. A child ran to him, crying, "Help me!" Then the child turned into smoke. The smoke became fire. The fire became faces, people Reyes had lost in the past. Then came a voice. "Show us who you really are." Meanwhile, back in the council hall, the members watched the trial unfold on a glowing dome above them. Each species watched closely, some hoping the humans would fail. But one figure, An old alien with glowing eyes smiled softly. They remind me of the early days. Of us. Inside the trial, the world kept shifting. Reyes walked through centuries of Earth's pain, wars, disasters, injustice. But he also saw its beauty. Art, music, kindness, love. At the end of the vision, Reyes stood on a floating rock in space. Stars around him, alone. Then a voice spoke again. "What is Earth?" Reyes answered without pause. "Broken, healing, dangerous, kind, but most of all, ready." The darkness vanished. He stood once more in the council ring, sweating, shaking, but alive. The other council members stared at him. The red-armored giant stepped forward again, but this time he bowed slightly. "You passed." Somehow. The leader turned to the council. "Shall we vote?" Lights blinked across the ring. Some red, some green. The votes came in, more green. Earth was not accepted as a full member, but Earth was no longer ignored. And as Reyes looked up, he saw something most of the others missed. A shape far above the council world. A massive ship watching from behind the clouds, old, silent, and definitely not part of the council. The galaxy was waking up, and Earth had just stepped into the fire. The council chamber had gone quiet. Elon Reyes stood at the center, still breathing hard after the mental test. Around him, alien eyes blinked, glowed, and narrowed. Some were curious, some were impressed, but others were afraid. Then, the voice came again. That was only the first test. A ripple of shock moved across the chamber. Reyes turned slowly. The floating leader hovered above him. To truly stand beside us, Earth must face the second trial. In the forge, gasps. Even some council members looked alarmed. Dr. Chen whispered from behind Reyes, "The forge. No species has faced that in 1,000 years." The forge wasn't just a test of the mind. It was something older. Something buried in the bones of the galaxy itself. That night, the team didn't sleep. The forge was outside the council world, hidden in a dark moon orbiting a red star. It was ancient, built before most of the council species were even born. No one knew who had created it. Some believed it was made by the first ones, a race older than time. Others said it was alive, but all agreed on one thing. It never lied. It never showed mercy. And it never let anyone fake strength. At sunrise, Earth's ship was guided to the red moon. They landed in silence. No welcome. No light. Only a single tunnel cut into black stone. As Rhea stepped inside, the walls shimmered with moving lights like memories trapped in crystal. Faces of long-dead aliens stared at him from the stone. Some looked proud, others looked broken. The deeper he walked, the warmer it became, then hotter, then almost unbearable. At the center was a large chamber of obsidian. In the middle, a round platform and a ring of tall spires pulsing red. Then a voice echoed, not from speakers but from inside his skull. Trial of soul begins. Suddenly, the ground cracked open, and Reyes fell. Not far, but into another place. This place looked like Earth, his old home. Trees, sky, birds singing. It was beautiful, until it wasn't. Smoke rose in the distance. Gunfire echoed. The sky turned dark. He saw people fighting, people he knew, former students, old friends, even his brother, all fighting one another, yelling, bleeding. Reyes ran forward, shouting their names, but they couldn't hear him. Then came the whisper, "This is Earth's future, unless you stop it." Then everything changed. He was back in the council chamber, but it was in flames. Alien. Bodies lay scattered. A human ship hovered above, weapons hot. He heard his own voice, cold and cruel. "We gave peace. You chose fear." Reyes cried out, "No, this isn't who we are." The scene melted again. Now he stood on a frozen battlefield. One human alone, his eyes glowing. He looked just like Reyes, but older. scarred. The older version spoke. You want peace, but the stars demand fire. Back on the red moon outside the forge, alarms began to sound. Earth's team looked at each other in fear. Inside the chamber, Reyes had been still for too long. The forge was pushing harder than expected, harder than it had ever pushed before. One council member turned to the others and whispered, "It sees something in him, something hidden." Inside, Reyes fell to his knees. He was tired, burned. His mind stretched to the edge. But he stood again. He looked at the future selves, the fire, the war, and he said, "We are not perfect, but we learn, we rise. We don't run from our mistakes. That is what makes us human." A great silence followed. Then, light, pure white, bright as the birth of a star. The illusions vanished. The chamber cooled, and the voice returned. Humanity has passed the trial of soul. Back on the surface, the forge doors opened with a deep groan. Reyes stepped out, his eyes glowing faint, gold, not just with light, but with memory, with knowledge. The council members stood waiting. Even the red-armored warrior from before bowed his head. The leader floated closer. Only one other ever passed the forge. Long ago, he became a ruler, a savior, a destroyer. Reyes didn't respond. But something deep in his soul now pulsed, like a key had been turned. That night, far away in the void, an ancient machine reactivated. Its scanners focused on the red moon. It whispered to itself in a dead language, "The heir has stepped forward." And then, it began to move. The forge had accepted him. That alone should have been enough. But for the Galactic Council, it wasn't. Too many voices whispered behind closed doors. Too many species feared what they had seen. A death worlder passed. The trial of soul? He stood inside the forge and walked out alive. It had never happened in living memory, and yet... Elon Reyes had returned, with his eyes glowing faintly gold in a silence that carried weight. That night, a secret meeting was called. Not by Earth, by the Council itself. And someone in that room was about to uncover something terrifying. A secret, buried beneath Earth's surface for 10,000 years. The meeting took place on Obex Prime, a neutral world near the edge of Council space. The chamber was shielded from time scans, mind readers, and even light itself. The best minds gathered. Scholars, strategists, time archivists. On the central screen, Earth's deep core data. Data Earth itself didn't know had been scanned. Hazin, our historian, spoke first. While the forge trial was taking place, our probe scanned Earth's crust and magnetic imprint. We found something impossible. The screen shifted, a massive object buried under Antarctica, not natural, not human-made either, ancient, sealed, still alive. The image zoomed in. Pattern match, 96% similarity to structures built by the first ones, the historian said quietly. The room went still. The first ones were a myth to most. A god race. Long vanished, but this structure was real. One strategist leaned forward. "Are you saying the humans evolved next to a first one relic, and never knew?" The historian shook her head. Not evolved next to it, protected by it. Another voice, cold and sharp, added, "Or raised by it." Meanwhile, Reyes was on the Earth ship, unaware of the secret meeting. He sat alone in the observation deck, staring at a galaxy map. He couldn't sleep. Not since the forge. He felt different. Stronger, yes, but also connected. As if something, or someone, was listening. Suddenly, his vision flickered. He wasn't on the ship anymore. He was standing on Earth. But it was not the Earth he knew. The skies were red. The oceans glowed. Giant towers rose from deep valleys. And in the center of the world stood a black cube, humming with light. He stepped closer. Voices echoed from inside. "You are the echo of our last breath. The key was planted in your blood. When they find us, you will awaken." Then the world cracked, and Reyes snapped back to reality, gasping for air. Dr. Chen rushed in. What happened? Reyes stared at his hands, still shaking. Something is waking up. Back in the council, panic was growing. A vote was proposed. Restrict Earth's access to core council data, limit their ship travel, keep them under surveillance. But it was too late, because someone else was watching. Above the council world, a hidden ship, huge, silent, black as space itself, was moving. Not built by any known species, not logged in any registry, and it wasn't pointed at the council. It was headed straight for Earth. On Earth, strange things were already happening. Seismologists recorded tremors. Under Antarctica, slow, rhythmic like a heartbeat, satellites malfunctioned over the South Pole. One drone captured a glimpse before it crashed. A structure, rising, and then a single pulse of light shot from the ice, straight into the sky. The council called an emergency meeting, but this time, Earth wasn't asking to be heard. This time, the galaxy was asking Earth questions, and no one, not even so, Earth had the answers. Far beyond, in the darkest corner of space, a mind awoke. The seed is active. Earth remembers. Prepare for the return. The stars were watching, and Earth was no longer just a death world. It was a cradle, a secret, threat, and very soon a reckoning. The pulse from Earth didn't stop. It echoed across space, one burst every 12 hours, soft, silent, but powerful. Alien satellites picked it up first, then long-range sensors, and finally, old machines that hadn't activated in over 100,000 years began to turn their eyes back toward Earth. Something ancient had woken. And now, the galaxy was afraid. In the council chamber, chaos was spreading. The vote to restrict Earth had failed. Too many feared retaliation. Too many were simply confused. But one race, the Drakari, didn't wait. They launched a probe toward Earth's moon. Not to study, but to test. The probe carried a weapon, small, silent, illegal. A gravity disruptor. It wasn't meant to destroy, just disturb. But the moment the weapon activated, the stars blinked. Literally, a massive shadow appeared between Earth and the probe. A ship, but not of human origin. It didn't fly. It drifted like smoke. No engines, no heat signature, no metal. Only one thing was clear. It was protecting Earth. And when it opened its hull, there were no weapons. Just a sound. Deep tone. Low. Ancient. The probe melted in space. The message was simple. Do not touch the seed. On the council floor, a storm of panic erupted. Who controls that ship? Is Earth hiding something? Was the trial a trap? Did the Forge awaken an ancient guardian? Meanwhile, on Earth, strange things kept happening. The ice in Antarctica cracked open completely, revealing the top of a black pyramid miles wide. No doors, no lights. Just humming stone and flickering symbols that matched nothing in Earth's history. Every hour the symbols changed, and people near the structure began having visions. One man in Chile claimed he dreamed of standing inside a golden city under 3 suns. A woman in India sketched a star map that matched no known constellation, but council archivists later confirmed it pointed to a sector long abandoned after a galactic war. And Elon Reyes? He had begun hearing a voice in his sleep. Not words, not sounds, but feelings. Fear, warning, urgency, and one phrase that burned into his brain. The lock is broken. Prepare the path. Back on the council world, ambassadors argued nonstop. Some wanted to destroy the structure on Earth before it grew more powerful. Others wanted to isolate Earth completely. But one group, the Veluan scholars, demanded a different path. They proposed opening the oldest records, sealed data from the War of the Origin Flame, an ancient galactic war lost to time. The council resisted at first, then the scholars showed proof. A pattern on the side of Earth's black pyramid matched a symbol from that war, a symbol used only once before. The mark of the Starkeepers, a long-extinct race. Except now, maybe not extinct, maybe hiding, maybe watching from Earth. Suddenly, all screens in the council hall went dark. A voice, mechanical, slow and echoing, spoke into every speaker, translator and neural link. The starseed has awakened. You abandoned your oath. You feared balance and chose silence. Earth remembers. Do not come near. And then silence again. Elon Reyes stood alone on the Earthship's observation deck. He watched Earth below, glowing softly now. He whispered, "What are we?" But he already knew. They were not just humans. They were something more. A piece of a forgotten design, a missing part of a galactic truth. And in the shadows of deep space, ships began to move, not from the Council, not from Earth, but from the edge. The forgotten ones had heard the signal, and they were coming. The Black Pyramid was no longer silent. It had begun to speak, not in language, but in pulses of energy. Rhythmic waves rippled through Earth's magnetic field, and every advanced species across the galaxy could feel it. Not hear it, not see it, but feel it deep inside like a warning buried in their blood. It wasn't a weapon. It was a reminder. In orbit, Elon Reyes stared down at the structure. His eyes still glowed faint gold from the forge, but now they shimmered with something more. Recognition. "I've seen it before," he whispered. Dr. Chen turned to him, shocked. "You've what?" "In my dreams. Or memories I don't remember making. This pyramid, it's not just old, it's part of us." That night Reyes entered the pyramid. The council had forbidden it. The team begged him not to go, but something inside him called louder than fear. The stone opened for him, only him, and as he stepped inside, the world outside vanished. He stood in a chamber of pure light, not made of walls or metal, just energy. Floating symbols lit the air around him. Some he couldn't read, others he understood without knowing why. A glowing humanoid figure appeared before him. It wasn't real, more like a projection. It looked human, but not quite. Taller, smoother. Eyes like suns, voice like wind through stars. It spoke in thoughts, not words. "You carry the echo. We left Earth long ago, before your kind walked upright. But the seed remained, hidden in your people, waiting." Reyes trembled. "Who are you?" The figure pointed to his chest. "Not who we were, who you are becoming." And then, it showed him. Visions poured into Reyes's mind. Earth, in a time before time, visited by beings who shaped the land, taught the skies, seeded knowledge in the oceans and bones, then war. A great betrayal. These beings vanished, but not completely. They buried themselves in the DNA of Earth's life, waiting for the right mind, the right soul to awaken. Reyes was one of them. Not a god, not a weapon, just a key. The first of many. Outside, the council was in full panic. New signals were coming from the edge of the galaxy. Old encrypted codes, ones used in the time of the Origin War. Species long thought extinct were now moving. A fleet of unknown ships had entered council territory. Silent, cold, massive. They ignored all messages. No flags, no warnings. They were coming for Earth. One council general screamed into the chamber, "Earth is the spark. They've awakened the ghosts. We must strike now." But before anyone could vote, a shockwave hit the council world. The stars dimmed for 5 full seconds. Every translator in the galaxy failed, and every council member heard the same voice. Inside, their own minds. "You silenced balance. Earth will speak now." On Earth, the Black Pyramid unfolded like a flower. A tower rose from its heart, glowing, humming, ancient. At its top, Reyes stood, changed, alive with knowledge. He looked to the stars, his voice calm. "You were wrong to fear us. We're not your enemies, but we're not your servants either." Then he pointed to the sky. "Tell them, the seed has grown." In deep space, the forgotten fleet stopped and bowed, not to Earth, but to what Earth had become. A voice, older than time, whispered through their ships, "The Star Keepers live again." The council froze, for the first time in 10,000 years. They weren't the rulers of the galaxy anymore. The stars stood still. Across galaxies, ships paused. Satellites turned. Empires held their breath. Earth had changed, and the change was spreading. At the heart of it all stood Elon Reyes, glowing atop the black tower, his voice carried not through sound, but through space itself. "We do not come to conquer. We come to restore." The council didn't know whether to attack or submit, because the truth was now clear. Earth had never been alone. It had been a cradle, a vault, a warning, and that warning had just opened its eyes. High above Earth, the forgotten fleet waited. There, ships had no names, no lights, no weapons Earth could recognize, but their silence was loud. A message came directly to the Council's core servers. No encryption, no code. Just 5 words. "The Starkeepers rise again." The Council panicked. Some species fled their systems, afraid of what Earth might become. Others begged for peace, offering alliances. But the oldest races, the ones who still remembered, the ancient wars, did something different. They bowed, not in fear, in respect, because they knew the stories. They remembered the truth that others forgot, that once, long ago, a balance existed, not ruled by empires, but by the keepers, guardians of peace, watchers of war, protectors of light. On Earth, changes began. The Black Pyramid wasn't just a machine, it was a builder. It unfolded again, underground, under oceans. In orbit, hidden structures long buried began to rise. Earth's true technology, locked for eons, began to awaken. Humans started hearing the hum. Children drew star maps in their sleep. Animals acted strangely, gathering near energy zones. The planet itself felt alive. And Elon Reyes? He no longer needed to speak. He simply was. A final message was sent to the Council. It didn't come from Reyes. It came from the pyramid itself. "You feared Earth. You were right, but not for the reason you believed. We are not your end. We are your mirror. Decide what you become next." The galaxy froze. No wars followed. No missiles. No invasions. Instead, applause. Not with hands, but with silence. With honor. Old empires sent their best to Earth, to learn. Smaller worlds followed, hoping for guidance. Even the Council, once cold and proud, sent an official message of unity. The day Earth joined the Council, the galaxies didn't just watch, they changed. Far beyond known space, in a black zone where stars refused to shine, a ship awoke. Its surface was smooth like stone. Its engines were older than gravity itself. Inside it, a voice spoke. "Earth has remembered. Phase 2 begins." Then it vanished, toward the center of the galaxy, and toward a war. No one remembered, but Earth was now ready to finish.